You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hello.
How we doing tonight?
You know, it's going.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Well, we've been off for a couple weeks again, but now we're back.
Yeah.
And we're all happy.
Yeah.
And there's actually 4 of us here tonight
Wow.
for once.
Full house.
That's weird.
And Andrew's back and Michelle's back.
Hey.
Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Welcome back.
And Cotter's here too.
Yeah. Welcome back.
He's like
That's
so
funny.
weird. Hey, Mr. Cotter.
It's a reboot of that show, but nearly
Yes.
everybody else is dead.
It's the zombie version of Welcome Back, Cotter. That'd be pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah.
Zombies in high school.
Yeah.
Zombie John Travolta.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
pretty much his
he
career.
looks
Zombie
like a
honey.
zombie.
Yeah.
So this is episode 130.
Wow.
We kind of slowed down, though. It seems like
Yeah.
we're actually only doing about 2 episodes a month,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I actually kind of like that.
But they're more concentrated in
Yeah.
quality.
They're more
about-
concentrated. The quality's
Yeah.
better.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like the podcast equivalent of like the last of the Kool-Aid. You know, in the picture, it's like
Yeah.
really it's good and sweet.
It's not
Yeah.
about. It's
Strong.
not about the amount. It's about the girth.
It's a
not
girthy
length that matters.
This
podcast.
is a
It's
girthy
width.
pod. Yeah.
It's about
And,
how
you know, it's
deep
kinda-
they go.
And you know, it's kind of cold out, so maybe you shouldn't judge us for maybe having a shorter podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a bit nipply out.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our sponsors before this completely slides off the
We're
rails.
just, yeah.
We're already there. We're already there. So, got to mention the Flint Institute of Arts, which they just re-upped for another year with us. So,
Awesome.
make sure you check those guys out when you can. Great museum. Hey, good idea, Tom. My buddy Tom just said he wants a Goonies-themed show.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Can we get a full episode out of that, though?
Of Goonies?
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Even then,
We
you
could talk
could
about the Goonies video games too, like
Everybody just
cat it out.
stand
Yeah.
up and start doing the truffle shuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how you start the episode.
that'd be
Yeah.
a good live episode.
Projectorscreen.com. Make sure you guys check those out for all your home theater needs. And then, of course, Matador Martial Arts, which are good friend. Like, we're going to go back to that again.
As opposed to the Matador with
The-
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was inspired by that.
It was inspired by Pierce Brosnan's The Matador.
It was actually, you'd think that, but it was inspired by his performance in Mamma Mia.
Your favorite movie.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's on my list. No, it's
Liam
not
loves
true.
Mamma Mia. It's his favorite of all time. Yeah, he's like, can we watch it again today?
Yeah.
Mamma mia, let me go.
Is it going to be on Disney Plus?
In
All right.
4K streaming.
Yeah.
Okay, so in news this week, The Shining sequel, Doctor Sleep, pretty much bombed at the box office, which people were a little bit shocked by. I don't really know what they were expecting from this movie. If they thought it was going to be a huge hit like it, I don't really think there was quite the audience there for it. But I think it's only made like $16 or $18 million so far.
Yeah. Well, they should have released it on Halloween.
Yeah.
Why, release it a week
Yeah.
after?
I don't know.
And also, it was like a fluke. So they're trying to replicate a fluke again. You know, like it just came out of nowhere. Everybody's like, "Whoa," and everybody liked it. Like, not every Stephen King story, especially one that's a sequel to a movie that came out like 35 years ago, is gonna, make a big splash.
Yeah, because when was the original Shining?
1980.
Yeah.
1980. And it's a very long film, too. It might even be longer than the original Shining.
I think it's right around the same because it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Wow, is it really that long?
Yeah, it was really long.
We went to a press screening of it.
Hey.
I'm not going to really say much. I enjoyed it more than Andrew did. Andrew had his personal problems with it ripping off a lot of the Kubrick stuff.
Yeah.
I had one major issue with it, but I'm not going to mention that issue. It has to do with one character showing up in the movie that I don't think should have been there. So, basically, the movie is just flopping across the board, not doing what they expected. So, Andy Serkis today, it was confirmed he will be playing Alfred Pennyworth in the Batman.
Yeah.
Stacking up to be a pretty good cast in it.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're going to do
intrigued.
with these ingredients.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like there's really good casting, but I'm just like, all right, well, what's the story? He's like fighting like 40 villains. Like, is this like an old 60s Batman revival or something, where it's like a
Who's the
villain
director of it going to be? Do they know?
Yeah, it's
Matt Reeves. He did
Oh,
the
it is
last,
Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did the last couple Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Which those were good.
Yeah.
I think he's a great choice as a director.
Yeah.
And this casting is just amazing across the board.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to work out to be good. I still wish Ben Affleck had stuck around, but
Yeah.
we're not going to get back into all that again.
Yeah.
All right. So in vinyl news, we never do vinyl news. So this week we actually have some vinyl news. I picked up on this last night. Mondo Tees is actually releasing this Friday a 3-album Lost soundtrack set. So it's going to have 3 like multicolored vinyls in it, and I guess there's like 18 tracks, and a big portion of it is a live concert of them performing some of the score.
Oh, that's neat.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So I want to pick it up. It's like $50 though. So I might have to wait till that goes bargain bin before I pick that one up.
Mondo Tees also announced a 2001: A Space Odyssey vinyl repressing, and they're going to do it at 45 RPM on both platters. I'm not sure what the quality difference is. Supposedly it sounds better at 45, but I can't speak to it myself.
This isn't like vinyl news, but Mondo sponsor us. They're also releasing a Godzilla clothing line that I want just everything in. Also on Friday, it's got like a Mothra hoodie and like all this cool stuff, just in case you're into Godzilla and like shirts.
Mondo has like everything.
Yeah, and their stuff's pretty good quality. I mean, I've never gotten anything from them that was bad.
Yeah.
They're just expensive and everything's always limited and you have to buy it in 1 second. But I think the clothing line, obviously, it'll probably make more than like one shirt, hopefully.
Yeah, they're always putting out really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I just can't afford anything right now. So, sponsor us, Mondo, like
Mondo.
Michelle said.
Please.
Please sponsor us.
Please, Mondo.
Please, we love you.
I'll work for Godzilla shirts.
Michelle, pull your microphone a little closer. Liam, you can pull yours a little closer, too.
Does that sound better? Yeah.
Right there.
Go deep.
Yeah,
Liam.
yeah.
We're going to do ASMR.
Yeah.
An entire... God, that'd be the
Here it is
worst.
right here, look, listen.
That'd be the worst podcast. Just, my favorite movie of 2011.
Dude, I would super...
I loved Drive. I think Nicholas Winding Refn is so good.
Dude, I would super listen to an ASMR like movie podcast.
So
for
would I.
real.
Really?
Like, and somebody's like crinkling like paper like next to it while they're talking.
No, that would terrify
What if they
me.
were just crinkling paper and just saying the titles of movies?
Yes.
Okay, that would work.
I've watched weirder ASMR videos than that, so...
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
In between eating
Like some chips.
bonbons and
Pee-wee, get out of that theater.
pizza.
That's always the grossest when they make really funny food sounds.
Yeah.
And it's like it sounds like cannibals, but they're like eating something like a candy bar or something, and it sounds like
It's just the mic picks up every noise that
I know
man
all
should not
about
hear.
cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
All right. Other news, Blumhouse has officially announced that there's going to be a new Paranormal Activity in 2021. I couldn't care less.
They also announced a Fantasy Island horror movie.
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
trailer
the
for
trailer
it. It's
came out.
bananas.
Yeah.
How do you make a horror film out of Fantasy Island?
Well,
It
that happened.
kind of was, though. The original show, like when I was a kid, watching Fantasy Island, like at my grandparents' house on Friday nights, like that in the Love Boat, there was a lot of horror elements to the original TV show with Ricardo Montalban.
And
Some of the shit that happened, like them going to like volcanoes and
It's so
caverns and
inventive.
crazy stuff. Like I can see how they're doing this.
and it's got Herv in it. Herv Villakis from Forbidden Zone
yeah.
and Malatesta's Carnival of Blood.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I think that might be cool.
Yeah, it looked fun.
I mean, I think if you're going to do a remake of something or a reboot,
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah.
They did that with the Banana Splits movie.
I never saw that.
I
Was
haven't
good?
seen it yet.
Oh.
I wanted to rent it, but I'm not sure if it's like worth my time.
Yeah.
So
Nothing's worth your time.
Nothing's worth my time. It's precious.
My precious.
If you get some laughs out of it, then maybe it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hesitant.
I was waiting for that joint to hit Netflix.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. In new releases this week, we've got Ford versus Ferrari, which Liam saw.
Yeah.
His review will be posted in a couple days. We've got The Warrior Queen of Johnsy, which I believe Ben reviewed, correct?
Yeah.
That is posted now on themoviesleuth.com. Charlie's Angels, which, I'm all for Charlie's Angels, and I love the women that are in this movie, but it looks like a total shit pile.
Yeah.
I really probably will not see this in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. And The Irishman expands to more theaters this week. So in limited release.
Yeah.
So our review of that just went live today, and that will be going to Netflix, I believe, next week.
Yeah, I think the 23rd or 24th.
Yeah. So another week and a half or so on that one.
Yeah.
The
Watch it
Birmingham-
on Thanksgiving with your family.
Yep.
The Birmingham 8 gets it on the 22nd, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
yeah, I know the main gets it on Friday.
The main is getting it?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Because they
3.5 hours.
Yeah, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
You'll feel them.
Yes.
I was feeling it last night at The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had an intermission, but they only had it on for like 2 minutes and then started the movie up again.
I'll say this about The Irishman. The best thing about it to me was not just the story or the storytelling or any of that. It was really seeing De Niro and Pacino act again.
Yeah.
They weren't just caricatures of themselves. They
Yeah.
actually fell
Absolutely.
back to like, okay, we're these actual characters.
Yeah.
It's not what, like, especially with Pacino, so over the top for the
Pacino
past
is-
15 or
yeah.
20 years. He's not screaming and yelling in this movie at all. He just talks, and
Yeah.
it works.
De Niro is really good in this movie, and there's a scene that like I was like, oh shit, I forgot this guy it packs a punch.
He can actually emote. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really, really interesting movie.
Yeah. And Joe Pesci.
Jeez.
I haven't seen Joe Pesci in something in a long time.
Joe Pesci retired.
And
Yeah.
he came back just for Irishman?
And
Yep.
he's
Oh, okay.
he's terrific in it.
Joe Pesci's like, Scorsese, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
fine.
Okay, how am I fine? Okay.
He probably
Okay.
didn't want to ruin.
Okay,
He probably
okay.
didn't want to be in like
Okay,
stuff like
okay.
Dirty Grandpa
Okay, okay.
or like Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
I mean, respect for that. You know.
He showed up
Yeah.
on set and went, "Where's the strongbox, you fucking varmint, you?
How am I
Yo,
fine?
motherfucker, yo.
You motherfucker, you.
Does he talk like that in the movie?
Motherfucking mutt."
No, he's kind of laid back in the movie,
Yeah,
but
is
it's
he
a
low-key?
different kind of like we're so used to seeing him as like the crazy kind of like
Yeah.
terrier, kind of yipping at people, and
He's
this
not in this.
he's kind of calm and collected. He
Very controlled.
It's an interesting performance.
Oh, good.
And that's from all of them this time. Because
Yeah.
it's a true story. I mean, I know like Goodfellas is a true story, but they had the realm and the area to move and act out and crazy and shit in that movie. This one, it's just very controlled atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a true story.
Yeah. I would say it's controlled, and it's also like it covers more ground than Goodfellas does. It's kind of ambitious. Like it takes you through at least like 5 decades of history. Yeah, it's an epic. So like, bring your diaper or something.
Bring your
If you
diaper
see it.
and bring small children because they will
Oh,
definitely enjoy
they're
this
gonna
one.
love
Yeah,
this movie.
like 5-year-olds will love the killings in this movie.
Yeah. They're gonna love it.
You're gonna love it.
They're gonna love
How
Joe.
funny. Funny.
They're gonna love watching Al Pacino eat ice cream.
Oh, there's so many scenes of ice cream in this movie
He
too.
fucking loves
Loved
it.
ice
I
cream.
do like ice cream.
A
It
girl
is.
like ice cream.
You've sold me on the
Oh,
Irishman.
you like ice cream?
A girl like ice cream.
Is that how he says it?
He's like, no, yeah. He loves it. There's a whole sequence where he's like busting some guy's chops trying to like eat ice cream.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, moving on. Suggested viewings. I guess I'll start. I'm gonna have to suggest The Mandalorian. It actually kind of blew me away.
Yeah.
We all know what a Star Wars fan I am, but I know the new movies are flawed in their own way, just like everything else. The Mandalorian was the first time I've seen any Star Wars movie, including Rogue One. This is the first time I've watched something where I felt like, holy shit, they got it. Like, literally, The Mandalorian looks and feels and sounds like the original trilogy. It feels like George Lucas is like in the room, like, this is my Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's how
he
it
was
really
there.
felt. The little bit of humor is there. There's a ton of quotable lines, and I have spoken. You know, there's the action is there, but the action is not overplayed. It's very realistic, like gunplay scenarios and stuff.
Yeah.
And they use the visual effects to like perfect effect.
Yeah.
There's not too much, and they show very little, but it says a lot. So if you haven't checked out Disney Plus yet, this is literally the only thing I've watched on there so far.
Yeah.
But that catalog is insane.
Yeah, they have new 4K masters of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should watch the Master of New Hope. There's a great new scene in there.
Yeah. They just couldn't leave it alone.
No, I love that. Like, he could not, even before he sold those movies, he had to get one more edit in on that scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, what's yours this week?
I'm gonna go with Parasite.
That was mine.
Sorry.
You can share it.
No. Go ahead.
So
I have
yeah,
a favorite now.
probably probably the most surprising and consistently engaging, one of the funniest movies of the year, and really crosses genres and defies expectations almost scene after scene. Like there's some scenes in it where it manages to traverse 4 different genres at once, and you don't see how they do it. It just happens naturally. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, definitely. And I don't know if it's my favorite Bong Joon-ho film, but it's definitely up there, and it definitely deserved the Palme d'Or. That's my recommendation for this week.
Michelle, what's yours?
I stole it.
Has anybody picked a Lighthouse?
Nope.
Okay, well that's mine then. So my pick is The Lighthouse, which is actually, it's just a great, I don't even know how to describe it. This is like a black and white, scary comedy about 2 people that are living in close quarters that hate each other, and there's like some kind of Lovecraftian cosmic horror thing going on. And it's like hilarious at times and frightening at others, and it's weird and art house, and has a fantastic Willem Dafoe performance in it. Probably one of the best performances I've seen this year. Like, I want him to win an Oscar for it. Like, it's just an absolute out there performance. Like, and Robert Pattinson's really good in it too. But obviously, it's Dafoe. Like, you know, he's just the king. He just owns every moment in that movie. And I'm surprised it got kind of a wide release too, especially for an art house movie. A24 kind of put it out there a little more. So it's probably pretty easy for most people to see. Easier to see.
Yeah, it's been pretty accessible.
Probably
actually.
easier to see than Parasite. Parasite's still a little limited in some places, probably because it's a foreign movie. But yeah, so if you have a chance to check out The Lighthouse in the theater, don't spill your beans.
Yeah. Damn ye, that was my suggestion.
Damn ye.
Hark!
Was it? Was it? Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say damn ye. I loved Willem Dafoe in that movie.
My cooking?
That whole scene
You don't
was
like
great.
me lobster?
I love that movie.
And that makes, and it doesn't make more sense after you've seen it either. Like, if you're probably like, lobster, what the hell? It doesn't make sense in the movie either.
Yeah, you're gonna be as equally confused.
It's also probably the filthiest movie since Hard to Be a God.
That's pretty grimy and
Yeah.
grungy and dusty and
It's
moist.
gross.
Like, it looks like it wasn't a comfortable movie for those actors to make.
I don't think it was.
No.
Robert Pattinson said he for reals peed his pants
Well, that's good for him.
to get in character.
Hopefully, he doesn't pee in the bat suit.
I did that
I
to
know
get
he's
in
going
character
to.
in 5th grade.
At the slumber party.
Yeah. I'm just a method actor. I just wanted to go home.
You got one?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do. I'm tired. It's been a long couple days. I guess my suggested viewing. this week is Jojo Rabbit. I have liked Taika Waititi a lot, and I found this film to be provocative and interesting and really compelling. I liked all the performances in it. I'm normally not big on Scarlett Johansson, but I think she's really good in Jojo Rabbit. And I really like the main kid who plays Jojo. I think he's terrific. And also his friend kind of looks like the kid version of Nick Frost.
He does.
And it's a really, really sharply well-directed and interesting movie.
It's actually getting a lot of critique.
Yeah. Which I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised, but I feel like people are kind of purposely missing the point of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually saw a review that said it was a pro-Nazi movie, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, you mean the movie where somebody says "fuck Hitler" in it? That's the pro-Nazi movie?
Right.
Well, I saw someone say it's this year's Green Book, or
I've
some
seen that
shit
too.
like that, and I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
Stop saying that. No.
You be nice to Waititi.
No.
He's a beautiful man.
I was like, no. I was like, you're entitled to your opinion, but that's wrong.
That is wrong.
I'm sorry.
Wrong.
Yeah, nah. They're like opinions can't be
That is
wrong.
grossly
No.
inaccurate.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go watch it. It's
Jojo
great.
Rabbit.
Oh yeah,
Jojo Rabbit.
everybody should watch it and make their own decision about
Mhm.
it. Don't
Yeah. I've not seen it yet, and I've not seen The Lighthouse, but I've been too busy with other stuff.
You should do like a double feature.
That's
Yeah,
what I
probably
did.
It's just like lobsters and Nazis
will. I would like the lobster and Nazis, please.
and
That sounds like Mad
beans.
Foxes.
Yeah.
Do you want a platter, or how are we gonna fix that situation?
I get some butter for my Nazis and lobster. All right, moving on. So this week we're talking about some of our favorite movies of the last decade.
That's right.
We're coming to the end here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So the next few weeks, I imagine we're probably going to be doing quite a few of these.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like maybe our favorite sci-fi films of the last
Yeah.
decade, maybe horror. We're going to do our best of the year because we
Yeah.
never do this really, and I
No.
think we should be
Yeah.
doing that more. So the next few weeks will be a lot of best of stuff, and maybe for once we could do a worst of show because we've never.
Yeah,
I would
ever
love to. I
done
would
a
love
worst
to do
of
a
show.
worst of show.
the worst of the year.
Yeah, we
Oh,
could do the
okay.
worst
I
of
haven't.
the
I
year.
haven't seen a lot of bad movies this year, actually.
Oh, you should watch Brightburn. That's pretty shitty.
I love Brightburn. Me and Andrew watched Brightburn the other
That
night.
movie was
I thought it
garbage.
kind of ended abruptly, but I
Yeah.
was entertained.
I kind of
it was
laughed
garbage.
when the
I liked it
bad
better
guy
than Dr.
came on.
Sleep.
I thought that was the funniest.
I was like, wow, that's exactly the song I thought was gonna play, and it did. It's a fucking psychic.
Might laser your dad guy.
All right. So, is it cool if I start?
Yeah.
No.
What?
No. Fuck you.
He's
I'm gonna go home. Wait.
he's gonna pick Parasite.
I was.
I am not
Parasite's
gonna
on
pick
my
Parasite.
list.
I've not seen Parasite either.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Dan Gilroy's 2014 film, starring Jake
Is it-
Gyllenhaal, Nightcrawler.
Fuck yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's a
on
good
my
movie.
list.
This is one of those movies I just can't get enough of.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those like every 6 month type watch movies.
Yeah.
Like I have to pop this movie in. Me and Andrew have talked about this at length, and this was on our list as a
Spiritual remake.
spiritual remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically an update of Taxi Driver
Yeah.
in
I'd say
so
there's-
many ways.
I'd say there's also a little bit of King of Comedy in Nightcrawler, especially with the relationship between him and it's Nina is the
Yeah.
woman that he works with.
Yeah.
Where she said, what did she say? Something about like, it's like picture our news just being like a bloody woman with her throat slit
Yeah.
screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of great social commentary in this movie that follows through right until now. You know, that whole thing about, you know, being an ambulance chaser. It's a
Yeah.
disgusting profession. And, like, this dude is so socially awkward, and he's just looking for anything to latch on to. So what does he do? He finds this career in news, being an ambulance chaser, basically. And like I said, it's so similar to Taxi Driver, how he's kind of
Yeah.
like a social pariah. He doesn't really know how to relate to women, and he just kind of like latches onto Rene Russo's character the same way that he did in Taxi Driver with Sybil Shepherd. There's so many comparisons to be made.
Yeah.
It just feels like an update
Yeah.
of Taxi Driver to me. But Nightcrawler, literally, like I saw this movie the first time by myself, and there's like nobody in the theater. You know, it was like opening day when I saw it too. There's nobody there. And I just remember being blown away. And I remember, like, I've always liked Jake Gyllenhaal and everything, but this kind of upped the momentum on his acting capabilities.
He was like on a little roll there. He was did Enemy and he
had Prisoners.
Prisoners, yeah. What was the other one with the story? And it was like a story within a story.
Nocturnal Animals.
Yeah, Nocturnal Animals. He was really good in that too. And it was like those were all made in this like little like 3-year period where he was just taking all these good ass roles, and like I remember thinking, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal, he's really coming out of it.
Nocturnal Animals is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
like
movie.
that one
That
too.
dual tiered story in that is great. But yeah, Nightcrawler, like I said, just every few months I'm like, what am I gonna watch tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, Nightcrawler. It's just one of those that you can really just like latch onto.
Yeah.
And you never get bored with it.
It's such a lean movie. Like, there's no, like, every shot and line and moment is motivated. It's really, really fantastically edited. Like, there's this, I think of the moment, like, the montage where he's upgrading the car.
Yeah.
And, like, in other movies, it would just be, like, long scenes where we see him get it, and it's just within the span of, like, 30 seconds done. And it feels smooth and just amazing.
Well, and Bill Paxton
he's
in
great
this
in it.
film is phenomenal, too.
I really liked the assistant guy who helps Jake Gyllenhaal. I can't remember the actor's name for the life of me, but he, like, his reaction throughout the movie as it gets more and more fucked up, and he's kind of like the voice of clarity. Just gets like
it's Riz Ahmed.
Okay, yeah. I really like him in that one.
Yeah, he was in Rogue One as well.
Was he was the pilot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we can move off Nightcrawler. Somebody else, give me one.
I'm gonna go with Paul Thomas Anderson's film The Master, which was 2012. Was that when it came out?
Yeah.
Basically, Paul Thomas Anderson taking on the biography of the Church of Scientology very loosely through this World War II veteran who is suffering from PTSD, can't seem to reintegrate into society, tries a number of different programs, none of them work, and sort of happens upon it's called the Cause in the movie. I can't remember what the name of it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
And they make it as unofficial as they can, but it basically is L. Ron Hubbard and the Church of Scientology. And even though the character happens upon it, it's ultimately a character study about Joaquin Phoenix's character, Freddie Quell, which, if you look at the new 2019 Joker in that film, you can see he was playing this role many years earlier, and the way he contorts his back to accentuate his shoulder blades and just looks very...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just looks very physically gaunt. And also, it was arguably before Tarantino started doing the 70mm Roadshow with The Hateful Eight, and before Christopher Nolan did it with Interstellar, Paul Thomas Anderson reignited the 70mm bug in movie houses with The Master, which is still one of the best looking movies of the decade.
Yeah.
Has a really great score too.
Yeah, the
Johnny Greenwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listen to that score a lot.
It's like really I don't want to say it's overpowering, but it is. Like,
It's
not in a bad way though. It's just very prominent. Like,
it's kind of dreamlike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a scene in that where it's towards the beginning where Joaquin Phoenix is being interrogated by the head of the cult. Like, he's asking him all those questions, and it's like I felt like I was holding my breath for like 10 minutes watching that part. It's just so good, and like you said, yeah, Joker is like Joaquin Phoenix can play that in his sleep now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he's done so many versions of, like, you know, an off-kilter person or somebody with PTSD, because the character in The Master, he has PTSD as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was, like, kind of the beginning of Joaquin. I think he's getting a little typecast now, to be honest.
Yeah.
As, like, they're like, dang, we need somebody that's really good at being, you know, a broken person.
Yeah.
Get Joaquin on the phone.
It's like, hey, Joaquin, what you did in The Master, just tweak it a little for this movie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he did.
You were never really here.
You were never really here, and it's the same character again. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same type of role. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like in You Were Never Really Here, he was a little more strong.
Yeah.
He didn't feel quite like he was broken, but he had more purpose, I felt
Yeah.
like, in that movie versus these two.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were never really here. He has to be kind of like that because he's what his job is. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily like something he, you know. But he went from that to Joker. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing at Josh Parks. Sorry.
Is he trolling?
He just said we should stop talking about this. We should start talking about Disney Plus aspect ratio.
Oh, just for the Simpsons. Let me get me started on that.
And the stretching, not just the cropping, but the stretching of the image.
Yeah.
Everybody looks fat.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
terrible. That's why I canceled that shit.
It's my favorite release of this decade.
All right, Michelle, what's your first one?
Well, I picked one from 2010, and it's Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Fuck yeah.
I
Hell
really
yeah.
like that movie. This movie is A, I like the comic that it's based on, and B, it's like super nerdy in the kind of way that's specifically to my nerdy tastes, like Nintendo, and like it's actually it's like a video game movie that's not about any singular video game, which is interesting too. And Edgar Wright's also the king of editing, and this movie's so like kinetic and well edited and fast paced, and there's visual jokes every 2 seconds,
Yeah.
and like the characters are great, and I don't know, it's just like super nerdy in a way that I really enjoy. It's got good music, it's fun, it's an interesting premise.
Michael Cera in this movie.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
most Michael Cera movie ever.
Yeah.
Like he was born to
For
be Scott
that role.
Yeah.
Pilgrim.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one of my. I think it's my favorite Edgar Wright movie. Actually, I know it's probably like a weird pick,
No,
See,
it's
this
not,
is-
it's not a weird pick.
No.
but it's just the most specific to my taste, I guess, because
Yeah.
of just how like nerdy. It's like very 1980s video game nerdy. And it's like a lot of people like that got their start there. Like what's his butt? Chris
Brie Larson.
Yeah,
too.
Brie Larson, Chris Evans. I wouldn't say he got a start there, but like he's. That's the first movie that he really was like. What was he in before? Not another teen movie. And
He's
then
in those Fantastic
Yeah.
Fours.
oh yeah, I just like
Yeah.
wipe those from
No,
my
that's
brain
good. That's
because
the way to.
And this was the first post Superman Returns movie for Brandon Routh as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What is he still in things?
Yeah, he's on.
Well,
he's
now-
on CW. He does.
He's
on
playing
the,
Superman again.
Well,
on
yeah,
the
he's doing
Crisis
that,
on Infinite
but-
Earth
and he's
thing.
the Atom. On
Oh yeah, that's
Legends
right.
of Tomorrow.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
I just can't dig on those shows.
Yeah.
No, I don't watch any of them.
No, thank you. No. Yeah, I love Scott Pilgrim. This is another one of
Yeah.
those. It's like at least a yearly
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I watch it every couple of years. It's one of my favorites. And every time I watch it, I find something new in it, a new little joke that passed me by, or I don't know.
Just bread makes you fat
Yeah,
every time.
the
It
vegan
just
police.
gets me. Yes.
Chicken isn't vegan. I don't know why it's so funny to me.
Jello. He's like
So
milk and
dumb.
eggs, bitch.
It's
Yeah,
so
milk
dumb.
and eggs, bitch.
Yep.
Well, I think he ate chicken Alfredo. That's what he
Or
ate.
it was chicken parm.
Oh yeah, it was chicken parm.
He's like, chicken isn't vegan. Everyone in that movie has like perfect line delivery.
yeah, perfect timing, perfect comedic timing.
Like Kieran Culkin, fucking kills me in that.
Yeah.
movie. He's so great.
All right, Liam, give us one.
All right, I'm going all the way to 2015, and I'm gonna pick one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite theater experiences of all time was Mad Max: Fury Road.
Oh,
I adore this movie. I think it's the best action movie of this decade.
I agree.
Easily, yeah.
Just incredibly well shot, incredibly written, incredibly acted. I think it was the best movie of 2015. It should have won Best Picture. No offense to Spotlight. Spotlight was fine.
Spotlight was super boring.
Yeah.
There was not enough.
Av-
There was not enough
average.
guitars that were on fire in it.
Yeah. See? That's what it needed. They needed less depressing pedophile stuff in
Yeah.
Spotlight and more flame guitars. or
Flame
maybe
guitars.
flame guitar pedophiles. I don't know.
Or light the pedophiles on fire with the flaming
Boom.
guitars and run them over with the vehicles in the desert.
Yes.
You know what we call that? Smart.
Yeah.
Sharp. That would win Best Picture.
It probably would.
But I think Fury Road is it's so good and it's also like the product of a troubled production. Like if you hear how it took them nearly years and years to make this movie, and the fact that it's so good.
It took him 3 decades to get this movie made. 30
Mm-hmm.
years.
And Tom Hardy said
Really?
that when he was filming it, he thought it was going to be awful, so he
Yeah.
really wasn't trying super hard. So, but luckily, he's a strong silent type in it.
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah.
I was gonna make a joke about Venom, but I was like, he didn't try with that movie.
No.
But yeah, he said the whole time he was filming it, he thought it was going to be horrible.
Did you hear about how he made T-shirts of himself putting Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu in a headlock while making The Revenant?
Yeah, that would make sense. I'd probably choke out Iñárritu for some of the shit he pulled on that movie.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you want me to eat a bison liver? He's like, how much do you want this Oscar, DiCaprio? He's like, will you eat a bison liver on camera for me?
Will you sleep in a bear? Do it.
He's like, I bet you won't do it, you fucking pussy.
And then and then he did.
It's the prestige movie version of Jackass.
When did The Revenant come out?
That was 2015 also.
That's
Tom
a
Hardy had a
year.
great year in
Yeah.
2015.
And funny, my next one's going to be from 2015 as well.
Ooh.
That's a good year.
2015.
But dude, Fury
Yeah.
Road, oddly, I remember when I heard it was being made, like it was coming out, and I was like, there's no way it's going to be good. It's like way later. You know, like those sequels they make like 10, 15, 20 years later are never good. And then I watched it. We went to a screening, and I was blown absolutely out of my gourd. Like, I was like, what the? This is like the greatest action shit I ever seen in my life. Like, I was like, I was so blown away by it.
Literally just came out of the movie just like in a daze.
Yeah.
Like, what happened?
Like, adrenaline. Like, it was crazy.
And I saw that movie like 5 times in the theater because I was like, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
to fucking see this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, it's so
Remember
good.
when we saw it the first time? It was in the
Yeah.
Epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It blew
I was
my
at,
head.
I think I was at that screening, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were. Yeah.
And it's like and a lot of it's practical work too, which
Yeah.
you don't see a lot. I mean, it's practical mixed with CGI and
Yeah.
compositing and all that, but I would say the majority of it is practical in camera work with
Yeah.
post processing.
It's funny because when we saw you there, we were all making fun of you. We were all like,
Yeah, look at that fucker. Yeah.
The stunts in that movie are really incredible.
Yeah.
Those characters that were coming down on those bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going like 70 miles an hour as they're
You're
doing
just
it.
going,
And
that.
like you just can't imagine like the first time you're watching that, and then you're like you just hear guitar in the distance, and you're like, oh, is that part of the soundtrack? Because it's like
And it
you
just-
know. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, a guy with a fucking flame guitar comes out, and his sole purpose is just to be a flame guitar guy.
he's a hype man.
That's all he's a fucking hype man.
Hear the hype man.
And I'm just like, what is happening in this movie? Just what? This is the coolest thing ever.
I love all the performances in there. Like on rewatch, some of them really grow. Like I love the Nux, the war boy. His arc is so heartbreaking to
And
me.
he has an arc, but he doesn't really barely talk. But that's
Yeah.
how good it is.
And it's such a brilliant performance. The guy Nicholas Hoult, who I've seen in other movies, and I'm like, he's all right.
Yeah.
I liked him in The Favorite, but in Mad Max, he was so good
I have a brother, and he was perfect.
in every way. That's when I watch like every 6 months.
yeah, that's a good one. It's
All
also
right.
cool in black and white too.
Yeah, I love the black and white cut
the
of
black
that.
and chrome, I think they call it.
And that's
Yes.
what started that whole thing where now, like, every other movie has a black and white
yeah,
cut.
alternate.
Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has a black and white.
The Mist.
But that came before.
Actually, I think The Mist started
The
it.
Mist, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
like
actually
the,
prefer it in black and white. the
yeah,
Mist.
it's better. It makes
Feels
it,
more like a Twilight Zone
Yeah.
episode.
yeah, it makes
covers
it
up some of that shitty
with the-
CGI too.
Or
Yeah.
CGI in that movie.
Lady Vengeance, where
Yeah.
an hour into the movie, the color slowly fades to black and white.
That's cool too. That's a cool version.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, 2015. S. Craig Zoller's first release,
Yes. This
Bone
is on my
Tomahawk.
list.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, this movie is just, it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
The character development in this movie is so great because it's just like, you just get it all through the dialogue. You get this tale of what they've all gone through to get here through just them just talking to each other, you know? Kurt Russell in this movie.
He's really good.
Yeah, and like he's setting himself up for the Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
this,
He just walks around with a cool beard.
The same year, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But like what a breakout movie. Because this was his first full-length release, I believe.
Yeah.
The violence in this movie is brutal, but the idea of crossing a Western in horror together into one thing, like just throw them in the blender, like the entire movie, you're like, oh, it's a really cool Western. Like, yeah, they're going out there, you know, they're going to find this lady, blah, 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 blah. She's been kidnapped. You're like, oh, it's like an old Clint Eastwood, like spaghetti Western. And then fucking cannibals.
There's that sound they make with I think it's like the piece of their throat or
Yeah.
whatever where they do that. That's the scariest sound in the world in that whole movie.
It's funny because my boyfriend and I, you know, were watching it, and I didn't really look into the movie too much. I was like, I heard it's a Western with cannibals. That's all I knew. So he comes and we're watching it, and we're like 3 beers deep, and then the scene happens. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where little chicken wing stuff starts happening.
Chicken.
And my boyfriend, like, paused the movie. He just looks at me, Michelle, what the fuck? He was, like, so betrayed.
What did you do?
He was
That
like,
hap-
you just
I
said this
didn't-
was a Western with horror in it. And it was, like, super horrible.
And
That
they just
happened
like
to me.
split that
too.
fucker in half.
When I saw that,
Oh, I
saw
know.
that movie, I didn't know there was like horror. I didn't know there was cannibal shit in it. So that happened, and then I was like, what? What the fuck? What?
No,
I knew there were cannibals, but I just didn't know the
Yeah.
degree of the film, like how intense it was going to be.
Well, I had read a review that said it's The Hills Have Eyes meets a Western. And I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty rad, you know? And I'm watching it down here, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, all the characters are great. Like, even
Yeah.
Matthew Fox.
I really like
this
his
movie.
character.
Like, he's never good. He's never good in anything. He was barely good in Lost.
He's
you
the
know?
worst character on Lost.
Yeah, but then he gets into Bone Tomahawk, and you're like, oh, dude, you're like total douchebag in this movie, but you're awesome at that. Keep doing that, Matthew Fox.
I like Richard Jenkins a lot in Bone Tomahawk.
Richard Jenkins is always awesome.
Yeah.
Like in everything. I just remember they get to that cave, and that happens. They fucking split that guy in half, and it literally being like, no way. Pause. Rewind. I watched it like 5 times.
That just fucking happened?
Did that just happen?
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about Craig Zoller is if you look at the 3 movies he's had out, he kind of repeats his formula in all of them. Like you've got tons of buildup and then
Really explosive.
thing happens, you know. But yeah, Bone Tomahawk, great way to break out with kind of an indie flick.
Yeah.
Casting's awesome, and again, this is one of those that I watch all the time.
And he's really great at writing dialogue, too.
Yeah,
like,
it's
that's
very-
his forte, I think.
It's very writerly in how he kind of writes it. I don't want to say Tarantino-like, but there's a rhythm to it, to Zoller's dialogue. And it works really well in the Old West. Part of, like, I like the other 2 movies he's done, but there's little moments that sound, like, off when you put that in modern times.
Yeah.
Like, there's something in, like, Brawl in Cell Block 99 that Vince Vaughn says that made me go, who talks like that?
Yeah. Well, I feel like he's a weird mixture of, I don't want to say he's like pretentious because I don't like the word pretentious, but he's like grindhouse like adjacent. Like I can tell that he really wants to write these like kind of deeper stories, but he also likes fucking grindhouse movies. So he's like, I want to have Vince Vaughn speaking like Shakespeare, but I also want him curb stomping some guy's face and sliding him across the concrete. Like, how can I have these 2 things in one movie, you know? And he does, and it works. I feel like he does a really good job of writing this fantastic dialogue that normally wouldn't be in a grindhouse movie, but also having this horrific, cartoonish violence that wouldn't be in like this dialogue-heavy character study. So he like mixes the 2 things together pretty successfully.
Yeah, I think he does a good job, but there's like little, just for me, where I'm like, okay.
I think he's a little self-indulgent, and
And
I would say Dragged Across Concrete is his most self-indulgent movie to the point where I think it hampers it a little.
It's 3 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole let's sit on an entire steak out and watch him eat a sandwich real fucking time. Like, it's cool. It's funny on paper, but
Yeah.
I actually liked that movie, but I'm just
I
saying.
like Dragged Across Concrete, but that scene in the theater, I was laughing because it kept going.
Yeah, it was like so long. I'm like, is this like the Turin horse of like his movies or something?
Mel Gibson's so good in that movie.
He is really
Yeah.
good. It's like he plays. It's like he just told Mel Gibson to be himself, because like Mel Gibson's turned into like crotchety asshole dude now,
Yeah.
and he's just like but it works for Dragged Across Concrete because
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that's his character.
He
So
sounds
it's-
like he ate a bunch of concrete.
Yeah.
The whole movie. Like, it's just like,
It's like the perfect movie to harness Mel Gibson's Gibson energy
yeah.
that he has, his
All right.
Gibson power.
Andrew, you're next.
Okay, this isn't really a movie per se, but I know some of it played in the theater in some venues. My favorite thing of the decade period is Twin Peaks: The Return, aka Twin Peaks Season 3, which picks up 25 years after the second season and the movie ended. And when they were first talking about doing it, I thought I'd seen everything that I could possibly see out of David Lynch. He's just repeating himself at this point, but I'm on board. It'll be whatever. Just not even halfway into the first episode, it completely upends what you think Twin Peaks is going to be about, what you think you know about Twin Peaks, what you think you know about David Lynch. He just completely throws it into a blender, and it alienated a few fans and longtime Lynch followers who thought this is not the Twin Peaks that I grew up with, and it just keeps getting more and more surprising and bizarre and imaginative. And then we happened upon the 8th episode, which, well,
Yeah.
there's no words for the grandeur that struck. That was on par with the ending to Kubrick's 2001, in my opinion. What'd you think, Liam?
I love Twin Peaks: The Return. I like it more than the original. I think it's kind of mind-blowing. It's very expansive in its scale, and it does blur the line between TV and movie a lot. Like, I've never seen something like, yeah, we have auteur television with things like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos, but this felt like an auteur movie, kind of. Like, every week it would be like 50 minutes in Twin Peaks, or we'd have a moment in Las Vegas with Dougie Jones, or we'd go into the origin of the atomic bomb, and it was just such a like encompassing vision, and it was just amazing.
Visually spectacular too, even not just for television, but you could play any episode of that show in the theater and it would it would rival, if not put to bed, many of the big budget blockbuster summer movies that come out each year.
Yeah.
This is so visually arresting.
It's a good, example of what happens when you let an artist just have creative freedom. Like, just let David Lynch do his thing, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does work, and it did, then you get masterpiece stuff like that,
Yeah, I loved Kyle MacLachlan's performances in that.
Many iterations of
Yeah.
of Dale Cooper.
He goes from being, there's the performance with Dougie Jones, which is like kind of really broad slapstick comedy at points, which is really, really funny. And then he goes to the complete darkness of the evil Coop.
The evil Bob Cooper.
Evil Bob, which is just like unsettling. There's like moments where he's on screen where he's so captivating to watch, and he's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. I think about moments from it. I think about, like, there's a scene where a guy just sweeps for like 5 minutes.
It's just that long shot.
And that's more interesting than some of the TV I've watched ever since. Like, that was that more captivating. It kind of was like just a nice little break. And this also, Twin Peaks: The Return came out like the summer where Game of Thrones was on, and I just found myself wanting to watch Twin Peaks more than Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of times people say they talk about art house things as being like, self-indulgent, just doing stuff just because it has no meaning. But David Lynch actually is like the master of the abstract, you know? Like, there's like a difference between somebody being abstract and somebody being abstract with a purpose, which I know seems like it's a contradiction in terms, but David Lynch is abstract with a purpose. Everything he does, at least in his mind, is part of a greater tapestry of work, you know? And I feel like David Lynch is probably one of the most premier like artists when it comes to abstract and metaphor and symbolism and all that stuff. And I know I'm sure there's somebody going ho 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 ho, you know, like whatever, but it's true. Like nobody does it like Lynch, and people that do it lesser get called fake Lynch, you know, or trying to be like Lynch because he's mastered the abstract, you know. And that's not for everybody. It's okay if you don't like it, you know. But I feel like a lot of people try to act like he's just like making shit up and not doing anything when actually, like, it takes, you know, talent and skill to make abstract watchable, I think.
Well, I think there's even, like, people say there's no purpose to it. I think it's really one of the better revivals of this last decade of bringing back shows because it's a show about how you can't go back.
It's one of the best critiques of nostalgia in living memory.
Absolutely. So much of it, like, when you think it's going to zig, it zags. And that is the benefit of this run of Twin Peaks.
Because he's basically saying, like, yeah, there is no purpose to bringing this back. So let's do what we want. Because because what I made already happened and that moment has passed and that lightning will never strike again. So why try to repeat it? Let's do something different. That's how a revival should be. It should be completely different. It shouldn't be more of the same because you're never going to live up to people's nostalgic memories of the original anyway.
It also begs the question whether or not going back to the past 25 years later was necessarily the best idea. He even makes that pretty apparent in the final episode with what year is this? Was this the right decision to make to go back and do this? Because you can ruin a good thing by meddling with it in a way that
Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones that George Lucas...
Shush your mouth.
Well, no, you know what I'm saying.
I know.
Like, George Lucas kept just going back and changing these things over and over. Like, when it was already good, just stop touching it.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
McClunky.
McClunky.
We don't need a live action or CGI Jabba the Hutt in
Just
Twin Peaks.
stop touching stuff.
And to think David Lynch almost directed Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That probably would have been awesome. Maybe.
They were like, no.
Well, Lynch refused the offer, and when he was asked about how did he get that offer, and he said, that is one of life's great mysteries.
All right, Michelle.
I'm going to go with... this is also from 2015. That was a good-ass year. I'm going to go with The Lobster.
I love The Lobster.
By, I'm probably going to butcher his name, Yorgos Lanthimos?
Yorgos Lanthimos?
He sounds like a Harry Potter
Lanthimos.
spell.
Yeah. Yorgos Lanthimos. He's like one of my favorite directors, too. Like, but The Lobster... So The Lobster is basically about some weird reality where if you don't fall in love within, I can't remember the amount of time.
It's like 90 days.
90 days, you get turned into an animal.
And you get to choose what kind of animal.
You get to choose the animal you get turned into. So I guess people don't want to get turned into an animal, so they go to basically like this school to like hook up with other people. Like they learn how to be in relationships so that they can attract a mate so they don't have to choose their animal. But also they like hunt people. I guess people maybe that don't want to be part of the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you know, grind. They are like running away, like hiding out in the woods and they hunt them. But so like the movie's like this really high concept thing. But the performances are like, so Lanthimos has this thing where he has all his actors act in this detached way, like very monotone when they speak. Everybody seems like they're on Quaaludes, but the whole movie's like that. So like everybody's like that, and it's so off-putting at first. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, so just why? I was like, why is everybody acting like, is this on purpose?
They're
like,
very clipped in the way they talk. But
it's purposeful, and he does it almost in every movie except for The Favorite. Yeah. And I think the only reason it's not like that in The Favorite is because he didn't write. That's the first movie he directed. He didn't write.
Yeah.
But they just talk in this really monotone, strange way, and the movie's like, it's like actually a very intelligent movie about relationships and how people interact with each other and how everybody puts on this facade when they're trying to attract somebody, but that's not how they really are. So they end up attracting people that are in love with like a fake version of themselves. And it's just a super dark like thing about relationships, but it's also like goofy and mega dark humor in it too. And like if you haven't seen any Lanthimos movies, I think that's a really good starting point is The Lobster, because you get a big dose of like his weirdness and his style, but it's not as upsetting as something like Dogtooth, because
that was my first.
Yeah, Dogtooth actually was my first too. But that movie's like fucked up, like on a lot of levels, and I feel
But
like
it's a different kind of fucked up.
yeah, I feel like it's a little too harsh to start out with if you want to get into like his style. But
It's not the most user friendly movie.
no, I think The Lobster or The Favorite maybe.
Yeah, I think The Favorite is the most accessible that he's done.
That's the least like his style though. But
That's the only movie of his that I wasn't completely on board with, and I was a fan of his just from Dogtooth and The Lobster. I remember when I saw The Lobster, it was in Ann Arbor. It was before A24 bought it. It was owned by another company named Alchemy, and I thought that was the only time I was going to see it, and it was weird seeing trailers come up months later from another company and it getting a wide theatrical release.
yeah, I remember actually. I mean, it's gonna sound like crappy, but I think I saw it. I think we downloaded it because it wasn't playing anywhere by me, and I was like, it was so intriguing to me. But if I did buy the Blu-ray, so if people want to get mad, I did give them money eventually. But
Yeah.
I wanted to watch it and it wasn't playing anywhere.
Yeah.
And then it didn't come out on Blu-ray forever too. It came out like a year later, or maybe a year and a half later after it was released.
It was out in Europe like
Forever.
forever.
And that was
Yeah,
before
that's what I had.
was region free and
yeah,
I
because I
imported
remember
stuff.
you imported the thing. I remember
Yeah, that was
a lot.
before I imported things, so I was just waiting, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, download it. But then I did buy
Download
it. But that's my pick.
I'm a computer. Stop all the downloading.
Pork chop sandwiches.
Yeah.
But kid, get the fuck out of here.
Nobody's going to know what
Fuck,
that
we're all
is. That's
dead.
like younger,
It's a classic.
like 30 and up. That's who's going to get those references.
You're not cooking.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude.
All right, Liam.
So I'm gonna go with a movie I rewatch a lot is Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. I think
yes.
it is a nearly 3-hour orgy of sex, drugs, and just everything. I think it's the best performance DiCaprio ever did. I think he deserved the Oscar for Wolf of Wall Street over The Revenant because
He's really good in that.
It's such a committed performance. Like he goes to 11 in that movie. It's such a interesting take on that material. You know, like it's very similar to Goodfellas in tone and in its energy and in its
In the way it
edits.
moves, yeah.
It being a gangster epic in many ways.
Yeah. It has some great supporting performances. I love Jonah Hill in that movie.
Yeah,
he's such a dick.
He's really good in it.
day.
That's when he was. That's when he was thinner.
Yeah.
When he was trying to
Slim
be
thick.
He was trying to be slimmer Hill.
He's a little
Hill.
slim thick in it.
Slim thick.
Steve
Slim
Madden.
Steve Madden.
Dude, that entire part was tripping me out so hard when he's on the Quaaludes or whatever. It's such a good performance. It's like such a good physical performance.
It's like
though.
Buster Keaton style physical
Yeah, and
comedy
slow-mo.
where he's just walking down. And
Yeah.
it's great. I also really like John Barenthal in it. He's like the right amount of douchebag in it.
Which he plays very well.
Yeah. It's so much fun to watch. And Margot Robbie, oh my god.
That was her first.
I'm just not going to comment.
She's really hot in it.
She's really hot.
Exactly. I'm just not going to comment.
But man, like it kind of blows my mind that how old was Scorsese when he made that?
He was in his
70s.
70s.
He's in his
and
70s.
He dropped that.
And he made like this super high octane, sex filled, horny ass, like party cocaine fueled just movie.
Somehow evaded in NC-17.
Yeah.
Like he made that like in his 70s. Like
It's just
damn.
It was just a total blast of a movie.
Yeah.
And I always I remember like people were like, oh, it's on his side. It's like whatever. And I was like, no, you're wrong.
Oh, because people thought it was kind of glorifying,
Yeah,
like, that lifestyle.
Jordan
But
it
Belfort.
is a glorification when he punches his wife and does cocaine and
Yeah.
then takes the kid out of there.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's because, like, Leonardo DiCaprio is charismatic.
Yeah.
And he's a protagonist, so you're kind of rooting for him a little.
Yeah.
Because that's just who the movie's following. But it's obviously like a story about excesses, like, destroying him. Like, because he's never happy with what he has. He always wants more, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he keeps wanting more until there's nothing left to get, and then, like, he just collapses in on himself like a dying fucking star.
See, I just thought it was just a portrait of, like, American capitalistic excess. That's how I look at that movie. Like, I think there's a lot of comedy in it, and I don't really think he was glorifying any of it. I'm like, he's really showing this guy's kind of a dick nozzle.
He frames, there's literally shots of the extras in that movie. They're all like screaming and like foaming at the mouth. Like they're like feral.
Yeah.
Like when he starts chanting, he's like, I'm not fucking leaving. And they're just like dancing and chanting.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's kind of how that was. This movie takes place in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the 80s were just absolute capitalism at its fucking peak, boy. Like, it was like money is God.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
like just absolute peak capitalism frothing. And then the big crash. But
Yeah.
It's one of the fastest moving 3-hour movies too. You don't notice that it's that long.
I honestly didn't even know it was 3 hours because I've just never
Yeah.
thought it felt like long. I never looked.
It's just a trip. I love showing it to people who haven't seen it,
Yeah.
and I just love watching it. It's amazing.
All right. So I'm actually going to shift to 2016.
Oh.
A different year.
A different year.
All right.
And this is one that I don't think a lot of people have seen. I don't know if even all of you guys have seen it or not, but it's Andrea Arnold's American Honey.
I liked American
I never
Honey
saw
quite a
that one.
bit.
This movie is absolutely amazing, and there's two reasons why. Really three reasons why. The director is phenomenal, super talented, absolutely talented. Second reason is the way it treats reality in this movie. Like, nothing feels false. All the characters feel like real people. The story takes place in our reality. Nothing's amplified. Everything is just just flat.
It's very lived in.
Yeah, it's a very lived in feel. It's basically about those people that go door to door selling magazines. Okay, and the shit they go through. It's a big scam for the most part.
Yeah.
But the third part is Shia LaBeouf in this movie. Oscar caliber performance. Like, you guys know how much I love him as an actor. I think that he is one of the greatest working actors around today. He was great in The Peanut Butter Falcon as well. He exists in these indie films much differently than he did, like, in Transformers. Like, he's really talented. He can do drama very, very well, and he can do comedy very well too. In this movie, he plays a total scumbag, taking advantage of this poor girl for the entire movie. He's just kind of like down on his luck, dirty, long hair, beard, just that.
He has the rat tail on that one,
Yeah,
right?
he's got a rat tail in this, like, so he's kind of white trash, you'd say.
Yeah.
Very, Florida.
Florida man.
Yeah,
It is,
he's Florida man.
That's part of A24's Florida movies.
Yeah,
you can watch
but
that.
the entire movie is about, him basically womanizing and taking advantage of this poor girl, and them, like, traveling across the United States trying to sell magazine subscriptions to people that just so happen to answer their front door. Very, like, you hear slice of life a lot.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is. It's just like a slice of life, gets you into somebody else's reality, and it's 2 hours and 43 minutes long too.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it at all. So, also, I think this was filmed in an alternate ratio as well. So,
Yeah, from what I remember.
yeah. So, this is probably in my top 10 of the decade. If you haven't seen it, see it. American Honey. All right, Andrew, I'm done.
Since we're on Florida movies,
Florida man!
I have to go with Spring Breakers. Harmony Korine's Spring Breakers.
Oh, I'm so excited.
What year
I'm
was
so
that one?
excited.
That was Gosh, let's see here.
I think that was 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Was it 2015? The
Come on,
magical
phone.
year?
I will tell you.
The magical year of the decade?
2012. It
Oh.
was in 2012.
Wow, dude.
I didn't
It's
realize
amazing
that
how
movie
many
was
years
from that long ago. I don't know why I thought
I
it was.
think they might have held it for a little bit.
Yeah,
Even-
either way.
Even without the social critique and coming into it, having seen Harmony Korine's other movies, is such a wicked blast of energy from beginning to end, and it visually absolutely stunning. That was the first time I think Gaspar Noé's cinematographer Benoit Debie worked with Harmony Korine and started shooting movies in America, and this was the first of Harmony Korine's Miami, Florida movies. Like, before this, he was doing these really kind of gritty, ugly suburban movies like Gummo or Julian Donkey Boy, and they were very dour and downbeat. Now he's doing these bright, colorful, sort of life-affirming Miami, Florida movies. The Beach Bum also being among them. But I thought with Spring Breakers, it was kind of like our generation's Natural Born Killers, the Natural Born Killers of
Absolutely.
this
Yeah.
millennia, as far as depicting materialistic and sensual excess and amassing everything and coming away with nothing, that being among the major themes. It's got a brilliant performance by James Franco, probably still his career best, even better, I'd say, than in Wiseau in The Disaster Artist. I think he really, that's the pinnacle of his career.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Brilliant soundtrack by Cliff Martinez, who
Yeah, soundtrack is really
Yeah.
good.
probably my favorite composer working today. I'd say him and Clint Mansell are my top two. And
Spring
Yeah.
Breakers is a funny one because this movie is so divisive.
Yeah.
And like when I tell people this is one of my favorite movies of all time, they're like, "You're crazy. That movie sucks." And I'm like, "Tell me what sucks about it." And they can't.
It's just because it makes you feel bad at points.
I
That's
think people
literally-
kind of fundamentally misunderstand what the movie is saying.
Yeah.
I feel like they think it's like this really vapid like piece on just like, oh, it's a bunch of teenagers having sex and doing stuff, when actually like the whole point of the movie is that it's like, you know, it's deconstructing millennial, you know, like how millennials are like disaffected right now and
It's
they feel
an
like they don't
indictment
belong
of
anywhere.
instant gratification.
Yeah.
The entire
Yeah.
movie.
mm-hmm.
You know, that's the way I always
Yeah.
looked at it.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No.
I try not to do
I do that too often.
that.
But yeah, that's one of my picks for the decade, Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
It's an awesome movie. And like
It-
this is a twice a year watch for me.
Yeah. I show this one off a lot. I think I just rewatched it a couple weeks ago. And I love it. I love Spring Break.
Well, I
Look at
remember
my
after
shit.
we saw this, like we had like I remember we had like Ed and Barry and them over here to watch that. You were here for that, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And like they had just heard nothing but bad things about it, and they watched it down here in the theater, and they were like, "What? Like that was one of the best movies I've seen like all year."
Mm.
So, yeah. If you don't like Spring Breakers, there's something wrong up here.
Look at my shit.
Look at all my
Shit.
Scarface on repeat.
I
Constant,
got
y'all.
Calvin Klein. I smell nice.
Oh, my
I smell
shit.
nice.
That performance is so hilarious.
It's so great. I love that they like ran an Oscar campaign for him. He should have gotten it. In a
And then when he
just
won,
world,
if he had won, he should have got the Oscar and be like, look at all my shit. Like pointed at it.
he should have gone in as Alien.
Well, and it's funny too. Like if you pay attention to like the female leads in this movie, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson. Not really so much Rachel Corrine, but like those three, like these are like Disney girls and
Yeah.
girls that are like CW shows, and like they were kind of like the whole formation of what they were kind of like dissing in this
Yeah.
movie for the most
Oh,
part.
that was very
So-
purposeful
Oh,
Yeah.
casting.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they were all great. All right. Michonne.
I'm going to take it back to 2011. And
yeah!
I'm
Fuck you, 2015.
tired of that year. I'm going to pick The Raid.
Oh, that was on mine too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was
The
also,
Raid is just like, and you know, I would say I like The Raid a little more than Fury Road. Because The Raid's a little more pure. It's like a pure action flick. And it's also like very lean. Like a lot of action films, I think, make the mistake of trying to make have too much going on outside of the action. I think the John Wick movies are kind of starting to do this a little bit. Like the first John Wick is like action, right? And the second John Wick's a little bit more lore, and the third one's all kinds of crazy lore. And I feel like there's the best of the best action films are very simple premise. So the Raid is there's a dude that's got like an apartment complex, and it's like 100 stories high, and he's on the 100th floor, and they're on the first floor, and they got to get to the 100th floor, and it's a bunch of cops, and they're kicking ass on every floor on the way up. It's like a fucking video game.
Sounds like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, it's like point A to point B, though. It's like there's like one little side plot concerning the cop, and his brother lives in an apartment, and his brother's a thug, and he's a cop, and they're like, oh no, we're meeting, and we're related, but yet we're on different sides. Yeah. Like a very small side plot, but the main plot is whooping ass and getting from the bottom to the top. And it's like every floor is like a level, like a level in the video game.
Yeah.
I don't want to say video game like the cheapen it, though. Like it's like, the fight choreography in this film is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. It's like, it's snappy. Everybody in the film are like real martial artists, so there's not like all these quick editing and stuff. Like you see these really long, uncut scenes of them just whooping ass. There's like a really fantastic stunt team working. The fights are just brutal and like bone breaking, and there's like a lot of impact in them. And
yeah,
there's a 2-on-1 fight, probably one of the best 2-on-1 fights I've seen since like a Shaw Brothers movie. Like it's so fluidly coordinated, like it's just like brutal. They're like stabbing each other in the neck with like pieces of a light bulb, and blood's flying everywhere.
That's my favorite part in that whole movie.
It's just it's
awesome.
Honestly one of probably my top 3 action movies of all time. Seriously, and I've seen a lot of action movies.
Mad Dog, he's fucking cool as shit.
It's probably the best Asian action movie since Hard Boiled.
It's like just absolute action from beginning to end, and every piece of the movie it's lean as fuck. There's not any extra
there's
story.
No fat to be trimmed.
There's no fat in this movie. It's all ass whooping. The end. And you're like, that was awesome. And I don't like Linkin Park. I feel like they're kind of corny. However, the one guy from Linkin Park did the score, and it's really good.
Yeah.
He does really good atmospheric stuff. I was like, man, he should maybe stick to that instead of whatever the other crawling in my skin or whatever.
Linkin Park's done, so
yeah.
What happened to him?
The guy died.
Did he?
Yeah, remember Chester Bennington, the singer? He hung himself.
When?
Like 2 years ago.
Really?
Right after Chris Cornell died.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is that the guy that did the music in the Raid?
No.
Mike Shinoda is the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he
Mike
could still make another movie.
Yeah, Shinoda. He's pretty good.
Does he do other scores?
Yeah.
Because it was really good score.
Yeah, and he's had another group going too.
Oh, okay.
He does a lot of their beats. And stuff.
He does a lot of electronic music. And
because you could tell, I was like, man, he must have been the background guy or something. Because I was like, this is very atmospheric and ambient, but really pulse pounding, and it's a really good score.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of that stuff.
He's got to do more of that. I really like the score on that one.
Yeah.
There's actually 2 scores for that film.
There's the
original
Indonesian one.
Yeah, there's an Indonesian score, and then there's his they did his score for when they released it here in the States.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's done all kinds of soundtrack work.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I thought I did a fantastic job. I like his score better than the Indonesian score, and I usually don't like alternate scores like that, but
he did the Seed, which is a short, and then he did the main theme music for Into the Badlands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then composition wise, he's done a bunch of stuff too.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah,
very cool.
And the Raid, and I know I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but the Raid 2 is really good too.
The Raid 2,
one of the best sequels ever.
Yeah, the Raid 2 takes and remember everything I was just saying about it being simple. Well, the Raid 2 is not, but it's still good.
Yeah, it's
the Raid 2 has more of that Godfather type gangster saga to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like the Raid 2 more than the Raid 1 just because of that extra texture to it.
Yeah.
I also love the kitchen fight in the Raid 2.
Yeah,
that is the peak of oh my! I saw that movie 3 times in the theater just to see that fight, and we lost our shit. It was maybe there's 6 of us. I skipped school to go see this movie.
It's a 25-minute long fight scene.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
And then those guys from that fight scene left that set and they went over to The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember when I saw Force Awakens, I was like, "Hey, that's the Raid dudes."
And then they never do. They don't have him do martial arts.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't one of them the stormtrooper with the tonfas. He had like the laser tonfas. Wasn't that him?
Maybe.
Wasn't that
No,
one
it
of
was
them?
they were boarding when the Millennium Falcon gets taken onto that frigate.
Well, they're
they
there
were all
too, but
there.
I thought like he was in that suit. He was in the stormtrooper
Maybe.
suit doing the tonfa
If he
stuff.
was if he was the guy who yells traitor, that would be great because he's my favorite part of that movie. Traitor.
Just so much.
But I just
emotion in
remember
that.
I was super bored in The Force Awakens, and then like that stormtrooper comes out with them laser tonfas.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
He's
well,
just
yeah, I was like,
swinging that
whoa.
shit. I want a whole thing about him.
Yeah, I want a whole side story. Fuck Solo. I want to learn about that tonfa guy. How did he learn that shit? Where was he doing? What's his life like?
They should put that in there.
They should make a whole kung fu like Star Wars
That
movie
should
featuring
be-
tonfa trooper.
That should be what Obi-Wan should be.
Yeah,
Mandalorian's a Western. Obi-Wan should be a straight up kung fu movie.
it probably will be.
Just have
Turkish
him.
Star Wars.
Just have him going around, just like fucking shit up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Liam.
Okay.
Hit us.
So I'm
Hit me. Hit me.
I'm gonna suggest one of my favorite kids movies, Paddington 2. I think Paddington 2 is a sequel that is better than the first movie, and I think it's just a romp. It's just delightful. It's kind of like if Wes Anderson did more stuff like Fantastic Mr. Fox, but there's a little more realism to it.
Yeah.
And the CGI for Paddington isn't terrible. He looks like he's actually there, and it's just a warm, feel-good movie. Hugh Grant gives probably the best performance of his career as like a washed-up kind of actor. He like leans into the kind of like he hasn't been in movies, so he like is just this actor who tries to frame Paddington, and then he goes to jail. He has to break out of prison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the Paddington movies, but everybody keeps telling me they're super good.
They're delightful.
Can I watch part 2 without watching part 1, or is it like a
Um,
connected story thing?
They're not.
Well, if you don't watch part 1, you're not going to see how they made the bear.
Yeah,
Oh, because I'm
the
familiar.
first one has the scene where the mom and dad bear get
Yeah.
together and
and they
make-
I
they
mean,
stuff each other.
Bear babies, they stuff each-
Yeah, I mean, you could watch. I think it works as a
The
standalone,
bear
but the
suit.
first one's fun too.
Okay,
The second one's better.
the first one's bearable.
Yeah, it's
is
not even
he
bad.
a bear Jew?
He's a bear Jew. I would watch that. I'd watch the shit out of that. That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty sweet. If
He just
in
comes out with a
Glorious
bat.
Bastards,
Paddington.
instead of Eli Roth, it was Paddington.
I wish it was in Glorious Bastards. I wish it was Sandler
Yeah.
instead of Eli Roth, which
Paddington
is
takes
the way it
his
was
head
supposed
off
to
and
be.
Nicolas Cage inside a bear suit.
He's like, I want some marmalade right now.
That sounds just like him.
I steal the Declaration of Independence.
Why do you have such a good Nicolas Cage impression?
'Cause I
Just like
watched-
on deck.
I watched all this shit. It's just burned into my brain.
All right.
Vampire.
Killing me won't bring back your goddamn honey.
I'm going to go with one that we talk about a lot on here. 2014, Christopher Nolan's best movie, Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's his best one, but it's okay.
It's my
It's my
favorite.
favorite.
It is.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Same.
I love sci-fi
Yeah.
in just this movie. I just love it. And I love Matthew McConaughey in this movie too.
Yeah.
And I just like the way they show the future, but it's not really like too much like the future. It's just like this Dust Bowl era.
Yeah.
And things are getting fucked up and like you just got to build this thing, get the fuck out of here.
I love that
You know?
aspect of it. It's all kind of shitty, all worn down. Yeah, I like the first part of that movie a lot more than I like the second part.
Yeah.
I think the second part, especially the bits with Anne Hathaway, kind of made me just go, oh, okay.
I like the third act the most out of the movie. I like the weird Tesseract stuff.
That was cool. That
And
was cool.
I feel like if it would have ended at the Tesseract stuff, it would have been good. But it has like
Yeah.
5 more endings.
There's the
It's
whole.
like you can't stop this movie from having more things happening.
The other issue I have is that like I understand that like he loves his daughter Murph, but the other kid just gets fucked over. So like Tom or whatever his name is,
Casey Affleck.
and then young Chalamet in the younger parts.
Yeah.
Timothy
He was just
Chalamet.
kind of a dick though.
He was, but like.
So he was kind of like, fuck this kid. I really don't like you
Yeah,
as much as I like
just love.
her.
I love that he like meets all of his descendants, all of his like future
Yeah,
children.
he was just like, she's going to be
And then he's
super
like-
hot when she gets older, so
Yeah.
we got to care about
Well, he's
her.
gonna be Jessica Chastain for sure. Yeah. No, I get it. I get why you'd like Murph more. It's just he totally didn't give a shit about what happened to this kid, like at all.
I think that he had more just this emotional connection to
Yeah.
her because most parents do have. I didn't say that.
They have a favorite.
It's got probably my favorite Hans
But,
Zimmer
like-
score out of any
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
Hans
I
Zimmer's
do-
Dude, that
scores.
score is amazing.
I do love that score.
The docking bay scene.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
that's all I need in life.
I saw that
Yeah.
movie in 70mm and it made my brain explode
Yeah.
during that docu. I was like, good lord. And we had to sit really close because we got there late. So it was just like my whole entire
Yeah.
field of vision was like,
We went up
the
to the
screen.
booth and looked at the print afterward
Yeah.
too. That was an experience. That was
I think that was the first movie I saw on 70mm now when I think about it.
same.
Yeah, because that started this whole
Yeah.
trend
Yeah.
Yeah.
of releasing stuff in that format. I saw it in 35mm, and the print was jacked up. It was in really bad shape. It was hard to watch.
I wish
There was a
70mm
streak down
caught
the
on
middle
more.
the entire time. But
I thought with this one, for me, why it's my favorite was it was the first Nolan film that embraced emotion and melodrama, whereas his other films are usually kind of clinical and detached. And this
like
was
Dunkirk.
which I actually liked. I
I
thought
do
that
like
was-
Dunkirk, but it's very detached from the
Yeah.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt any connection to them whatsoever.
I mean, the whole scene. If you're not affected on some level by the scene where he has to leave his daughter Murphy for the first time, and he's already gone, I thought that whole sequence was probably Nolan's most emotionally powerful sequence that he's created in his filmography. That was the first time also he worked with a different cinematographer than Wally Pfister, because I never really liked the look of Nolan's earlier movies. I always thought they looked kind of
Dry.
kind of dry, kind of
Stagnant.
dimly lit. And this was the first time where I thought finally there's color and there's detail in his movies. There's light. You can actually see what's happening, and it was a nice fresh change of pace for him. It was the movie of his that turned me into a Nolan fan. Before that, I was just okay on him. This was the first one that I kept going back for more.
Yeah. That's
think-
Hoyt von Hama did that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I really like the colors and that
It's
he
a
gets.
good looking movie. The whole thing's beautiful. And I love like a lot of I love that he still embraces practical effects. And like those robots were like actual robots that they built that
Yeah.
did
So
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that till I watched a behind the scenes thing. And I was like, no, I thought they were CGI for some reason because I just figured if they're robots,
Yeah.
they're not going to make robots. And then I watched the behind the scenes and they had a little thing they were moving them with. I was like, what?
The Tesseract was done practically.
Was it?
Yeah, it was rear projections. There were 15
Wow.
projectors doing all the ribbons. I mean, they created them with CG, but they projected them onto a set.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's really
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
But he's one of the few, I think, directors that A, he embraces practical effects. B, he likes using film still. So I feel like he's one of the few old school style directors we still have that make modern films. So
And still is kind of groundbreaking. With what
yeah,
he does
and
with
that
it,
and
too.
that's I think that's something to be applauded, even if you don't like Nolan's films.
Yeah.
Like he's keeping some aspects of film still alive in our era, which is good.
Yeah.
We got like 7 more minutes, so we can probably get 1 or 2 more in.
You were cracking jokes about it earlier, but I'm gonna have to throw Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive out there. The film that not the film that put him on the map. I already was familiar with him from Bronson and Valhalla Rising, but that was probably his first and only strike at the mainstream that didn't catch on initially, but sort of word of mouth started to generate a following, and it rightfully won the Best Director award at Cannes. It's kind of an update of Taxi Driver and Old Boy in some ways, particularly with the use of the hammer.
Yeah.
But really, that whole opening sequence is pure perfection. The title sequence, one of the best title sequences in film of the last decade, when he's just driving and it's Kavinsky's Night Call playing over the opening credits.
I still listen to that song occasionally.
Yeah.
That's
I think
just,
this
that's
is
a good
like
jam.
the one movie of his that still gets like a lot of like the pop culture like iconography. Like
Yeah.
people really still like connect to this one. And if you show somebody something from Drive, like they know it's from Drive.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of his other movies they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The driver's jacket is a great
Super
Halloween
iconic.
costume.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like when that movie, there's a trailer for it, and I didn't actually know who NWR was prior to that. I think I'd seen Bronson, but I didn't really he wasn't like on my radar or anything. And there was a trailer, and they cut it to where it would look like Fast and the Furious. So I didn't go see it because I don't like Fast and the Furious. And I was like, oh, some boring car movie with Ryan Gosling, whatever, I don't care. And then I read a review where some lady thought it was going to be like Fast and Furious, and then she was complaining that it was brooding and slow burn and boring. And
she sued.
It was that review. And I was like, wait a minute. That sounds like shit I like. Like, everything she hated is stuff I like. And so I went and saw it. I was, like, blown away. I was like, what? I almost missed this because it had a terrible trailer.
Yeah, the marketing on this was very poor.
They tried to make it like it was super duper action packed. I can just imagine somebody going into that thinking it's going to be like Fast and the Furious, and there's, like, maybe 1 or 2 driving scenes in it.
They're like, what the fuck?
It's just Ryan Gosling staring into space with cool music. And
Hey, girl.
Ryan Gosling, Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, give us one.
Let me see. Oh, here's a newer one because we didn't really do a lot of new ones. Call Me by Your Name, which came out in 2017, and that was another movie. Like, actually, I didn't really know too much about that one. Really, I just knew it was about a gay relationship in the 80s in Italy. You know, the funny thing about it is, after I saw that movie, I read the book to it while traveling in Italy on a train for extra points. I don't know. I just thought, you know what?
Did you eat peaches
you're
while
in that
doing
setting.
No. But I was like, I'm in Italy. I just bought Call Me by Your Name. It takes place in Italy. I can literally read the book in Italy. So we had a lot of train rides, and I finished the whole book on various train rides through the countryside in Italy.
Yeah.
And that's
I love that movie. I think Timothée Chalamet's performance in that movie, especially the very last scene, is the most heartbreaking, just performance of the last 5 years. Where when I saw that movie, I saw it on New Year's Day, and it was just kind of like, well, let's go see a movie.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't seen this yet, and then that scene hit me, and it was just like a punch in the gut, and I was like, this kid's gonna fucking win the award. And they gave it to Gary Oldman for some boring ass stupid movie.
I liked Darkness Falls. Or was it Darkness Falls?
It was the
Darkest Hour.
Darkest Hour.
Not Darkness Falls.
I honestly could not stay awake. I fell asleep like halfway through it.
I thought that and
picked it back up.
Dunkirk were good companion pieces, though I prefer Dunkirk to it.
Yeah, I liked Dunkirk way more than that one. But about Call Me by Your Name,
it's very sensual.
It's
movie.
very there's just the way it's framed. Luca Guadagnino just shoots very seductively. Mm-hmm. It's like there's
European.
Lots of crisp colors. There's lots of it's very vivid to look at. It's very beautiful. You have the moments where the blues are really blue when they're out swimming.
Yeah,
And it's that has stuck with me a lot, and I also really like the soundtrack.
You know what's funny is when I went and saw it, and I always post my movie posters, and I always try to find interesting ones. So I had no idea about this movie other than I knew it was about a gay relationship. But I posted a poster. It was just a peach, and everybody was like, "Mary peach." I was like, "Why is everybody being weird about this peach?" And then I was like, "Oh, I get it."
I remember you posted that, and I was like.
Everybody's
does
like,
she know about
I
the
did it.
peach?
Everybody's like, nom, 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 peach. Nom, nom. In the comments, I was like, what is happening about this peach? And then after the movie was over, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny. And if you haven't seen it, you too can find out what's the deal with the peach in Call Me by Your Name.
There's Parasite also has a thing with peaches.
Yeah, it does. It's less sexy.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Unless you have an allergy fetish.
Don't kink shame me.
All right. I'm sorry, Liam, but we're at 90 minutes.
That's fair.
What was going to be your last one?
My last
Just
one.
tell us.
My last one was going to be Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
I had
cool.
that one too.
Yeah.
So I think all of us would agree.
We have
on
a whole
that one.
episode about that one,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah. I'll link that one in here too.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with something. I don't know what. Maybe a whole show on peaches or allergies.
Dude, that'd be great.
Movies about peaches.
Or what we eat at the movie theater.
Movies about fruit.
Movies about fruit.
How to
Ooh.
carefully cut a hole in the popcorn bucket.
Honestly, we need that. We need the expertise.
Diner style.
I need techniques.
Mickey Rourke style.
I will train you all. Liam helped me with that last night.
You're welcome.
at the Irishman.
It was a 3-hour. Hey, that was a marathon session.
Yeah, 3.5 hours.
I should have gotten an applause for that.
You need a lot of popcorn for that.
I was like, hey, more butter.
You started talking in a fake Italian accent. Hey, you got any more butter here?
Hey, get my butter? Am I funny? Huh?
You motherfucker.
You motherfucker.
I need a cherry
You
icy right here, you
motherfucker,
motherfucker, you.
You fucking varmint, you. Where's the strong box?
Is this a
Every time.
DCP?
His family's all rats.
Joe Pesci, but he's really into cinema. Is this a DCP screening?
All right, we're out. Bye.
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 Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.